And welcome into the inaugural edition of Simply the Bets, presented by Live Casino and Hotel and the Fanduel Sportsbook. Glenn Clark, Paul Valley with you. It's a new show that we are going to be doing each and every week, Wednesdays, immediately following Glenn Clark Radio, and a truncated version of Glenn Clark Radio we'll be doing at 11:30 every Wednesday. Brought to you by the Fanduel Sportsbook. The Fanduel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel is the best place to bet and watch live sports. Walk up and make your bet at any of our 24/7 betting kiosks. The 51 self-service betting kiosks are dispersed throughout the property, or visit our personal betting windows to place a bet with a sportsbook representative. I love the Fanduel Sportsbook. It's such a cool place to hang out and get your bets in. So let me give you an overview of what we're going to be doing on Simply the Bets. Every week, Bruce Bilek, who is the Fanduel Sportsbook GM at Live Casino and Hotel, will be checking in with us to give us sort of a general overview of the big stories in sports betting for that week, whether it be the stories, the big things that people are betting on. Clearly, at the moment, everything's going to be geared towards the Super Bowl, but there's the Olympics going on. There's a World Cup qualifier tonight. We're going to get perspective and maybe some interesting bets that are to be made that you wouldn't know about unless you dove in a bit more. And Bruce is going to help us out with those things each and every week. He's going to join us here in just a few minutes. Also, each week on Simply the Bets, our buddy Aaron Oster, you might remember him from Jobbing Out. He used to be right here. He wrote for the Baltimore Sun a few years ago. He now works for the Vegas Sports and Information Network, VSIN, out in Las Vegas. He is, as much as I love Aaron, he is a degenerate of the highest sort. He is the type that would bet on just about anything. And every week he's going to join us, and we're going to do a special a segment with him called 5 L's, which is 5 specific bets that he's going to jump out in various different categories: a local bet, a long-term bet, so a futures bet, a long shot bet, so a big underdog that he likes, something that's a loser that he just looks at and says, no way, this is a loser, and a bet that he loves every week. So we're going to call it the 5 L's, and Aaron will do that every week with us. And we're going to be doing some other things we're going to add in. Paul's going to be doing some betting. We're going to call it a tidbit of the day. And I'm looking to maybe do some more sports-specific type of stuff and grow a group of people that are knowledgeable from a betting perspective on specific sports, right? Like, you talk to a beat writer, it's not the beat writer's job necessarily to know about how something affects the money line. It's just not. Their job is to cover the team, you know what I mean? Like the transactions, the behind-the-scenes type of stuff. Their job isn't to be concerned about betting on the whole. But we're going to try to find some more sports-specific people, so someone who really understands basketball betting, people that really understand soccer betting, things along those lines, and build up kind of a repertoire of guests that will join us as well on Simply the Bets week in and week out. Of course, if you had listened to my advice last week, you would have been in great shape, because I got both championship games right. And you knew I loved Cincinnati. I kept saying that. I just love Cincinnati. I said that all week. I was like, I got to pick Cincinnati. I definitely didn't pick them just because I thought Kyle Ottenheimer was picking Kansas City and I needed to pick opposite from him to stay alive, and said that I liked Kansas City and I think that you should bet Kansas City, but I'm going to pick Cincinnati. That's not what happened at all. I loved Cincinnati, and I nailed my pick on Cincinnati. If you went back and watched the video I did with Stan, I definitely didn't say there that I was picking Kansas City. That didn't happen. It's what we call fake news. It's a new term I just thought of. I just came up with, and I think I'm going to run with. It's a new concept that I've got. That was fake news. I went 2 for 2 in championship game bets, but more than that, I told you, I said very clearly, there's one bet that I love more than anything in the world, and I would walk to Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland, and the Fanduel Sportsbook to put said bet in. I'd walk there if that's what it required in order for me to get that bet in, and that is the prop bet to have all 4 teams score both a touchdown and a field goal, at least one, in all 4 games. And if you would have done that, you would have been in the money, because your boy led you down the correct path. If you missed, that's on you. That's your failure. But we'll be trying to give you good advice in terms of betting during the course of Simply the Bets, our new show as part of Glenn Clark Radio. With that in mind, we welcome in the general manager of the Fanduel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel. He and I were just hanging out together on Monday. They always say when you talk to an actor, and I think that Bruce Bilek, you would say you and I, we're very high-level trained actors, correct? We've studied. We're very talented. I've heard some people say you're the Leonardo DiCaprio of your generation. That's something that I've heard about you. You hear from actors that you do a lot of sitting around and standing around during the course of filming something. We learned that firsthand on Monday when we were hanging out together in the FanDuel Sportsbook. There was a lot of sitting around and waiting for the next shot, which inevitably we were going to screw up somehow, some way.
Good times, Glenn. Good times as always.
Good to chat with you, my friend. Let's talk about the big stories this week. Obviously, you know, we do have another week to wait, and we'll be talking about it more next week. But, of course, Super Bowl odds are out. Give me your first sort of run-through. In looking at the odds and looking at some of the props that we already have, give me a couple of things that jump out at you in relation to Super Bowl betting.
Yeah, just to talk about this game earlier, this game opened up Rams -3.5 with the total set right around 50. That number's bounced around for the spread. It's now up to the Rams -4.5, so it's moved between 3.5 and 4.5 all week long. It'll be interesting to see where this line goes further. Obviously, the total's dropped a 1.5, so we've come from 50 down to 48.5. Again, this is
That's interesting.
We've got a lot of time between now and the game, so I'm sure these will get settled as we get closer to game time.
That part is a little bit surprising to me, Bruce, right? Like, I don't know why you would expect less points to be scored from these two teams. Like, it's interesting to me that people were betting the under right out of the chute in terms of that. Anything prop-wise that has particularly jumped out at you so far? And I know that we're going to get more of them as we get closer to the game, but anything so far that's jumped out at you?
Yeah, I think we always talk about these anytime touchdown scores, but I think people are really hopping on Cooper Kupp. He's obviously found the end zone.
I mean,
really
all he does
throughout the playoffs. So he's right now currently a -210 favorite to score.
I can't believe it's only -210, by the way, Bruce. I can't believe it's only -210 for Cooper Kupp at this point.
Yeah, but then we got Jamar Chase at +105. So for anytime touchdown scores, and then Cooper Kupp's been able to find the end zone multiple times in these games. So if you like him to score 2 or more touchdowns, that line's currently sitting at +280.
So, Bruce, in terms of people that are thinking about when they should get to the FanDuel Sportsbook in order to put in their Super Bowl bets, the advantage of getting down there, say, this week versus waiting until you get close. A lot of people say, well, I want to get more information. I want to know more. I want to, what if one of these guys tests positive, right? Like, I want to know as much as I can. I don't want to wait. What would be the advantages for people of maybe getting down there, say, this weekend and trying to get their Super Bowl bets in instead of waiting until next weekend in order to do it?
Yeah, I think the key thing to think about there is, what are you betting on? If you're betting on propositions, the majority of these props, the prices of them are going to move depending on where the money comes in, that type of stuff. But I think if you're going to bet some of these props, whether it be passing yards or total touchdowns or anything like that, you probably want to get in early and get those placed because they may not move in your favor if you're looking to bet them a certain way.
I think it's a great point. All right, anything else Super Bowl related that jumps out? We don't have like a prop yet for like which song Dr. Dre is going to start with, do we? We don't have any of those yet.
No, we don't have any of those yet. We will see. So see what comes out of that. We do have some. We have all of the rushing props, the kicker props. Matt Gay total kicking points over under 7.5 currently. Some of the rushing props we got. Joe Mixon over under 63.5 yards. Cam Akers over under 64.5 yards. You want to get with one of the quarterbacks. You've got Joe Burrow over under 11.5 yards, and he's got some pretty quick feet, so he's been able to rack up some rushing yards in the past few playoff games.
I like some of the combinations that are already up, right? Like Jamar Chase and Cooper Kupp combined for 200+ receiving yards, for example.
Yep.
That's sitting at +115, so you can make a little money there. And I'm like, man, in what Cooper Kupp might get that on his own.
Yeah, we talked about one of those props last week. Jamar Chase had a huge game in the regular season matchup between Kansas City and Cincinnati, and last week they really kind of clamped down on him, so he didn't have as many receiving yards. So those can go, those can go one or two ways for you there.
All right, I like Evan McPherson kicks a game-winning walk-off field goal at the end of the game. If you've been paying attention, that's something that's happened the last couple of weeks, obviously. So a game-winning.
He's done that a time or two, right?
Correct. So that right now is sitting at plus 1,000. If you like the Bengals to win, I'm gonna guess that you probably like them to win close, right? Like, and I know, by the way, you guys have you can bet specifically each team to win by a certain number of points, correct?
Yep, we do have certain win margin bets. We actually have, you can predict the correct score. Just an intriguing fact, I'm sure many of you saw it on social media over the last week, but we had a customer that placed a $20 wager and won over $500,000.
That's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Predicting both of the correct scores in the AFC and NFC championship games.
I mean, that's nuts. That's insane the way that played out. But Evan McPherson to kick a game-winning walk-off field goal at the end of the game. So that could be regulation or overtime, right? Like, it's just the last play of the game is an Evan McPherson field goal to win, and that's at plus 1,000. And I'm like, man, might be a way that I want to throw $10 that way, right? Like, what? $10.
That's what makes the that's what makes the Super Bowl fun. Those type of wagers, it's a great day. It's a great game, and there'll be a lot more interesting props that pop up that, again, anybody who wants to have some entertainment value on Sunday, it'll be a great way to do it.
He is Bruce Bilek. He is, of course, the general manager of the Fanduel Sportsbook. And we will be talking about more of those, obviously, next week as we get ready for the game. We will get in more specifically to some of the prop bets available for Super Bowl 56. In the meantime, Bruce, we're entering into a period where we're not going to have as much football to be betting on, unfortunately. That's not. I'm not a fan of that because it means there's less football in general, right? And I don't care for that whatsoever. But there are other events, and for example, today is the official start of the Olympics. I hadn't even thought about betting the Olympics. Isn't something that had jumped out at me at all, but absolutely there are some options for people that want to be involved and want to have more interest in the Olympics. What would be available for them as far as betting the Olympics is concerned?
Yeah, I think what people tend to gravitate towards for the Winter Olympics is obviously ice hockey. It's something they're familiar with. We currently have, odds on the men's and women's ice hockey, who's going to be the gold medal winner. Currently, Russia is the favorite on that at plus 150, followed by Canada at plus 340. And our United States of America team is plus 1,200.
Live dogs, man. That's what sounds like live dogs to me. I couldn't, unfortunately, with the NHL players not participating, I have no idea who is a part of this thing.
No, exactly. It's going to be, that's a key point to put in there. With the NHL players not participating, it's going to be probably a little different setup than it would normally be. So
it's just the reality of the circumstances, man. There's not a whole lot that we can do about that. But it's not just hockey. You guys, if you happen to be a big snowboarding fan or a big skiing fan, you can bet on those types of things during the course of the Olympics, correct?
Yeah, so we currently just have the ice hockey up currently. But as some of those sports kick off, obviously when the Olympics kick off, you have certain sports that are kind of as the Olympics move on, they begin. So once they get closer to that, we'll have more options available from markets.
And what about medal props? Is there can you bet on who wins the most medals, who wins the most gold medals, things along those lines?
We'll have all of those too as well.
Very good, very good, Bruce. What else? What are the other? As we get into this part of the year, we move out of football season, and we know obviously there's nightly basketball, there's nightly hockey, there's college, things along those lines. But what are the big events that you see people still wanting to throw money on here in the coming weeks?
Yeah, I mean, again, college basketball is really starting to heat up. We obviously have March Madness on the way. The month of February, these teams are battling to get, positioning for the conference tournaments, which start at the end of February, roll through the beginning of March. So, again, I think some of the key things that are heading here is obviously the 2022 NCAA men's basketball tournament. You've got the number one team in the nation currently is Auburn.
Yep.
They're sitting at 8-1 to win the men's championship. And then you got Gonzaga, a team that was there last year, lost to Baylor in the final. They're 6-1. And then the reigning champions, Baylor, favorite or set at 10-1 currently. So, if you have a team that you're looking at that you think is going to win that national championship, now's a great time to get a really good price on them.
I assume Maryland is like right behind them, correct? They're probably sitting at like 20-1 or something. I don't think that's probably
yeah, Maryland's probably a little further down the road there.
Yeah, that's probably the reality of those circumstances. You know what, Bruce? Admittedly, the sport like that, I feel like people are way more into betting. That it's just not my thing. You know what I mean? But like, I feel like weekly golf tournaments, my feeds are just flooded by people making like make cut, miscut bets, things along those lines. It's just not specifically my world. Like, it's not where my betting interest is. But I'm guessing that like this weekend there will be a ton of action on that in the Fanduel Sportsbook.
Absolutely, we got Pebble Beach, so that's going to be there. And just to give you a heads up, I pulled the Maryland odds. Maryland's actually 500-1.
Oh, well, wait a second. Now, wait a second. So. There's something there. There's something there.
You want to throw a couple dollars in that?
They nearly beat. I don't know if you saw. They nearly beat Michigan State last night. Maybe they're primed for a run.
Exactly, it was a great game. They gave Michigan State a run for their money all the way down to the end, and Michigan State was able to pull it out with a last-minute layup there. So,
but you know what we call that, Bruce? That was a statement cover from Maryland last night. Real statement cover that the Terps made in that game.
It definitely was. Tom Izzo teams are coached very well, tough to beat. So Maryland obviously proved last night they could play with some of the better teams in the nation.
All right, so we talked golf. I know the World Cup qualifier tonight. I'm sure that'll be a big one that people will be betting on. USA Honduras and things along those lines. Remind everybody what people need to know about the Fanduel Sportsbook and how they can take advantage of it at Live Casino Hotel.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, we have 10 windows where you can come and one of our ticket writers will assist you with placing your wagers. We also have 51 self-service betting kiosks that you can personally go up to and place your wagers, take your time. Very convenient. Those are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So you can go in there any time of the day and place your wagers. Our windows are open Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to midnight, and then Saturday and Sunday, 9 a.m. to midnight. So, if you do place your tickets and we're closed, you can cash your tickets at the main cage too as well. So we try to make sure we provide a great customer experience for all of our customers.
By the way, I do think, Bruce, that what you bring up with 24/7 is important for people to know, right? Because if you're we were talking, you and I, the other day, if you're a European soccer fan and those matches are starting at like 7 a.m. on Saturday, right? And like you want to get your bets in, you can do that and come and, put it up on your phone, hang out, watch, and get bets in on the kiosks. Just because the windows aren't open yet, the sports book isn't officially open, doesn't mean you can't go put your bets in, or frankly during the Olympics, right? Because the Olympics are gonna be happening at all hours of the night.
That's a great point, Glenn. We have a lot of customers that like to bet international soccer, some tennis. Tennis matches tend to be overseas and in the morning too as well. So again, they can come in and place those wagers on the kiosk. And then another key point too is for those matches, we also have in-game live wagering. So once the match begins, it doesn't mean that there's no more bets available. Basically, the odds will just change based on what's going on during the matches or the tournaments or whatever it may be. But they'll update the odds constantly, and you can actually continue to place wagers on those bets as the game progresses.
So again, you can be there 24/7, take advantage of those 51 self-service kiosks all throughout the property at Live Casino and Hotel. All right, Bruce, I'm looking forward. Between now and next week, I'm going to zero in on one bet that is like my bet that I'm in love with for the Super Bowl, and we're gonna really drive in on that next week. I'm going to decide on one. I'm telling you, I'm appealed by that Evan McPherson one. Like I'm thinking about that. I'm going to spend some time plus 1,000, back-to-back weeks. This is what they've been doing.
It would be amazing for that guy to be able to pull that out in 3 weeks in a row, especially win a Super Bowl. So I kind of like it there, Glenn.
It is tantalizing, Bruce. It is really tantalizing. That Evan McPherson plus 1,000. All right, sir. We will be in touch. We'll talk to you again next Wednesday. All right. Thanks for taking the time for us this morning.
Thanks a lot, Glenn. Take care.
He is Bruce Bilek, the general manager of the Fanduel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel. 2 straight weeks. The Bengals have won. Remember, go back to Nashville. It was a 16-16 game. They kicked the field goal at the end. Last week it happens again against the Chiefs. I don't think anybody assumes. I think we know that right now people are leaning towards the Rams. But a lot of people are betting the Bengals because we're getting the points. So if that's the reason why you're betting the Bengals is because you're getting the points, you certainly expect it to be a close game. You might think the Rams are going to win, but you think it's going to be a close game. So if you think it's going to be a close game, and at plus 1,000.
So if I go down there and I put $100 on that to happen, I could win $100,000.
No, you're doing the math wrong.
Okay.
You're doing the math.
See,
you're doing the math wrong on
Okay.
that, right? Like, and again, I get it. You know what I mean?
You got to bet 100 to win 1,000. Is that what it is?
Yes, correct. Right.
Okay.
Like but it's $1,000.
Mm-hmm.
It's $1,000 that we're talking about, and I wouldn't put 100 down myself, right? But the idea that if I put a $20 bet down, which is essentially nothing, right? Like I lose $20 bets all the time on games to win far less, right? Like I put a $20 bet down on a game to make $38 and lose that. It's no guarantee that I'm going to win it, right? A $20 bet down that I can profit $200 off of.
Yeah.
And it's reasonable. Like it's a reasonable assumption that you're making that if the Bengals win the game, it's probably going to be close, and it very well could come down to the end. Now I get it. Somebody would say, well, they could get the ball first in overtime, kick a field goal, and then the Rams get the ball in the game. You know, like I understand. Like it's no guarantee that if it's a close game that it ends. It also could be that they kick the field goal with 6 seconds left, and so by a technicality, I don't win because it wasn't the final play of the game. The bet was written as walk-off, right? Like that was the way that it was written. Let me double check this. The bet is written plus 1,000. Evan McPherson to kick a game-winning walk-off field goal at the end. Oh, you know what? Sorry. At the end of regulation, so it wouldn't count if it was in overtime.
Mm-hmm.
Evan McPherson to kick a game-winning walk-off field goal at the end of regulation at plus 1,000. Still at plus 1,000. Oh, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money to be made right there. I don't know, have to think about it. These are the plus 1,000 odds for the Super Bowl, just for the record. So there's that one. There's Jamar Chase, Cooper Kupp, and T. Higgins all have at least 100 receiving yards. It's at plus 1,400. I don't hate that either. I mean, it's a lot. Like, it's a lot. But, like, I think most of us almost assume that Cooper Kupp and one of the two Bengals receivers will probably go over 1,000 yards. You just need one more, too, for plus 1,400.
1,000 yards, huh?
No, 100 yards. Sorry, thank you. Any non-quarterback to complete a passing touchdown is at plus 1,400 for the Super Bowl. Any non-quarterback. We, of course, remember the Philly special from the Super Bowl a few years ago. Any non-quarterback.
I'd buy if the 49ers are in there because Deebo Samuel threw a touchdown.
Yeah, but I think if you're ever going to pull out a trick play, you're not going to leave it in your pocket for next year, right? Like, if you've been sitting on a trick play, this is probably the time to pull it out, is in a game like this.
What are the odds on that?
Plus 1,400. Any offensive lineman to have a receiving touchdown, plus 2,000. I mean, I get it. Like, it's got to be a goal line situation where a lineman reports as eligible, and then you just sort of leak him out and assume that nobody covers him. Like, that one to me is not. There's nothing unique about this game. Like, it's a crapshoot. I think you're just as likely to get that. The argument I make for the non-quarterback to complete a passing touchdown in the Super Bowl is, like, if you're ever going to pull out a trick play, pull it out now because you've got no more games to play. You've been working on something all season. You can't save it for next week, right? Whereas the offensive lineman one, I think it's no more likely to happen in a Super Bowl than it is to happen in Week 2 against the Falcons. You know what I mean? Like, that's just the type of play that you end up calling in those situations. And then the big one, the plus 2,500, the biggest odds right now from the Fanduel Sportsbook that you can bet on for the Super Bowl, I don't know, I'm going to butcher his name, Skowronek, the guy that dropped the deep touchdown, Ben Skowronek to record a 50-plus yard reception, which, again, he would have had last week, but he dropped it. To record a 50-plus yard reception is at plus 2,500. Now, I get it, right? Like, the guy nobody knew who he was. We're like, who? Who is it that they're throwing the football to? There's no reason to think that he's going to do that, except for the fact that they literally designed a play that was going to work for that to happen a week ago. So file that away. That's one of the big numbers that exists. For the record, the coin toss result prop bet is even money at the moment, minus 104 either way. Both heads and tails, minus 104 to bet on the coin toss result at the moment. So those are some of the this is a taste of some of the things that you can bet right now as far as the Super Bowl is concerned at Live Casino and Hotel and the Fanduel Sportsbook. Simply the Bets is brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel. Place your bet at the Fanduel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Relax and watch the game on our massive 100-foot media wall, 47-foot big screen, and 40 HD TVs for the ultimate sports viewing experience. When we come back in, Aaron Oster from VSIN, the Vegas Sports and Information Network, is going to tell us specifically about some bets that he likes and, not so much this week. The 5 L's with Aaron Oster. That's next. This is Simply the Bets. Sports fans, the wait is over. The all-new FanDuel Sportsbook is now open at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. This is your chance to win big right in your own backyard. Bet on every sport with self-service kiosks and watch all of the action from the best seat in the house. Make every moment more at the all-new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Duffy's Garage is a family-owned and operated car care facility in beautiful Baldwin, Maryland. An authorized Maryland inspection station and Napa Pro Care Center with ASE-certified techs. Tell them that Glenn Clark sent you and receive 10% off your service with a max discount of $150. You gotta trust where you take your car, so take it to where I take mine. Duffy's Garage in Baldwin. Duffy'sGarageMD.com.
The latest issue of PressBox is available now, and it's our very special annual Best Of issue. On the cover, we celebrate Justin Tucker as our Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year, honoring his historic on-field achievements, but also the unprecedented relationship he shared with Baltimore. Inside, we recognize the top people, performances, and moments of 2021, including Cedric Mullins' incredible season and the dominance of local Paralympic athletes. PressBox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farms stores. And you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
The biggest pro wrestling stars today and all time all have one thing in common. You've heard them on Jobbing Out.
Matt and Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks.
Thanks for having us, man. Appreciate it.
The great Kurt Angle.
Thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Matt Riddle.
Yeah, man. Thanks, man.
The champ, Drew McIntyre.
Oh, thank you for having me.
The great Ron Simmons.
Keith Lee.
Appreciate you guys having me, man.
Bill Goldberg.
My pleasure.
Charlotte.
Thank you so much for having me.
Mick Foley is with us.
This is the greatest name for a wrestling show I've ever heard.
MJF.
I'm glad you're happy I'm on this show because I'm freaking miserable.
Le
champion.
Chris Jericho.
Le champion.
AJ, Aaron, Brandon, and Glenn are talking pro wrestling every week on Jobbing Out. Find it at PressBoxOnline.com/radio, iTunes, and SoundCloud.
Stay tuned. Your chance to win $1 million is coming up. Probably not from us. You're listening to Glenn Clark Radio.
Actually, you're listening to Simply the Bets today. That's what you're listening to. It's brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook and Live Casino and Hotel. Win your share of $10,000 cash just by signing up for Live Rewards. New Live Rewards members can also receive up to $20 in free play just by signing up. Sign up by March 31st, 2022. The cash drawings will be on April 1st, 2022. If you get to Live Casino and Hotel. So if you are, it's ironic that promo just ran for Jobbing Out, because if you listen to Jobbing Out, you know our next guest. He, of course, is on that show, he's the worst, but we're hoping when it comes to this, he's going to be the best because we need him to help us make some money. That's the concept. He was once upon a time, he was the pro wrestling writer here at the Baltimore Sun. He's a Terp, and now he's out in Vegas with VSIN, the Vegas Sports and Information Network, and he's going to try to help us out with winning some money. He's our buddy Aaron Oster, and he's with us now here on Simply the Bets. What's going on, pal? How are you?
I'm doing good. Woke up a little earlier than usual for this. You guys crazy on the East Coast time, but hey, you've joined us here in the gambling world. So,
It
so
is
we love you
finally
even more
nice.
now.
It is finally nice that here in the state of Maryland we can actually go make some damn bets, and I can lose the money that I want to lose. Man, if I want to lose my money, I should be legally allowed to do it, and I'm glad that we are. So, with that in mind, every week the concept that Aaron's going to bring us is called the 5 L's. He is going to present us one bet in these 5 different categories that we should file away, and you could act appropriately as you make your own trip to the Fanduel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel. He's going to offer us a local bet. He's going to offer us a long-term bet. You might call that a futures bet. A long shot bet, so somebody's a big underdog. Something that's a loser, that you just look at and say immediately, that bet, that's a loser. And a bet that he loves. Just a generic, I would smash the hell out of this bet right now. Walk to Hanover if you must. Walk down to Arundel Mills. Get the Live Casino and Hotel in order to make that bet. So, Aaron, with that in mind, let's begin locally. Give me a local bet you've got your eye on.
All right, I was looking down the board for this one, obviously looking at college basketball. It's college basketball time. What better than that for local? And
I'm guessing it's not going to be 500 to 1 for Maryland's future odds to win the national championship. I'm guessing you're going to pass on
No, I
that.
mean, you never know what can happen, but it's not going to be that one. One line really caught my eye because I could not believe that this was actually the line, and I had to go do some research on this. Coppin State is traveling to Delaware State today. Coppin State is an 11.5 point favorite. Coppin State hasn't been an 11.5 favorite or more in literally years over anybody, and that is a road team. So I had to go look into this a little bit more, and Delaware State is legitimately might be the worst team in college basketball. You look at the metrics, you look at Ken Pom, you look at Haslametrics. Bart Torvik actually has them as only the second worst team in the country.
I believe they legitimately lost a game to Salisbury University earlier this season.
It's pretty terrible for Delaware State. And not just that, one of their biggest weakness is actually a real good strength for Coppin State. Delaware State is horrendous inside the arc. They're horrendous at two-point shooting, where Coppin State's actually pretty good at that. That's one of their strengths is their defense. So when it comes down to it, when I see a line like that where, look, this isn't one of those going to be public versus sharps because the public's not really going to be playing Coppin State. But if you are happening to see it, you're saying, wait, Coppin State can't be an 11.5 point favorite. Well, in this case, I'm going to say, yeah, they should be 11.5 point favorites. They probably should be bigger favorites. So, yeah, go ahead and I can't believe you're saying this. It's probably the only time you will ever be able to say this. Go take Coppin State minus 11.5.
Minus 11.5 for Coppin State tonight against Delaware State. For the record, I just pulled up Delaware State's schedule, Aaron. They have 2 victories this season. Their victories over something called Cairn University. I don't know what that is. And they have a victory over Regent University, and I'm not sure what that is either. They have not defeated a Division I team of any sort this season, Delaware State. So file that away.
There you go, the Coppin State.
I'm trying to look at they did play a close game, however, against South Carolina State last. They almost won last week. They played a 2-point game against South Carolina State, so they've got that going.
Well, you know what?
Them.
Well, or that was their big moment. They didn't have it, so they're going to be deflated.
That's what they've got. All right, so that's the local bet. Is tonight Coppin State at Delaware State, despite the fact that they're 11.5 point road favorites. Let's go to something long-term. Give me a futures bet you've got your eye on.
All right, well, you brought up March Madness as Maryland odds. I'm not going to advocate you taking Maryland. I would never
500 to 1, Aaron. By the way, I got better odds, basically. I got to do this math. I got better odds on Evan McPherson kicking a game-winning field goal at the end of regulation in the Super Bowl than on Maryland winning the national championship in college basketball.
That's actually not a bad bet right there.
I am falling in love with that bet, by the way. It's plus 1,000 right now at the Fanduel Sportsbook. I am falling in love with just going and throwing a couple of bucks on that for the hell of it.
I mean, that if they're going to win, that's absolutely what's going to happen.
It seems like now I liked it better when it was any sort of walk-off field goal, and I just read it wrong. Because, like if you include overtime, it's been back-to-back weeks that he's done this, right?
Sure.
But it's got to be regulation. It's got to be regulation. So
okay, that does make it a little
That
tougher.
happened in the Tennessee game, though. They won on a walk-off field goal at the end of regulation.
True.
So it's very specific, but I still think I like the bet. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to step on you.
Hey, it's definitely a fun bet. And look, when we're looking at all of these things, and then one of the things that's great about Maryland Live is that they have all these really crazy bets, especially once they get the full menu for the Super Bowl. But back to March Madness, my long-term bet, my futures play. This is one. It's gone down a little bit, but I still think there's value there. Kentucky right now is 14-1 to win the national championship. Obviously, we saw that great win over the weekend. It was as high as 20 earlier, but again, value there. And when I'm looking at these long-term bets, I'm looking for two things. One, can it come home? Obviously, that's the big thing. You want it to cash. But the other thing is simply, is this going to be value? Will you be able to get this line that much longer? And to me, the answer is no. I think Kentucky is one of the best teams in the country. I think it's not quite like last year. Last year, it was Gonzaga, it was Baylor, and then it was everybody else. This year, there's going to be a group of 6 to 8 teams that you really think are going to be the favorites. Gonzaga is obviously the favorite right now. But after that, the next 5 or 6 is going to be pretty even. And when it comes to March Madness, when it comes down to, the brackets released and everything, I think you're going to see that group of 5 to 6 teams after, all in the plus 600 to plus 800 range. And that's why I think this Kentucky 14-1 bet
Aaron,
is really good.
this is a good time to do this. Remind people, because you start with 14-1 and then you bring in plus 600. Explain it for dummies, for people that are just learning betting. When you throw out two different numbers like that, 14-1, and then you say plus 600, explain how those numbers correlate, right? Like, explain what plus 600 is the equivalent of what.
Okay, that's absolutely a fair point. It's something that I personally do, which is in my head. If it's basically plus 600 means 6-1.
Exactly.
14-1 means plus 1400. In my head, when I see a double-digit number, I immediately go to the other system. But you're right, I should be saying plus 1400. I should be using the same system the entire time. So Kentucky plus 1400. I think that this line very quickly is going to drop. And I especially think that by March Madness, this is going to be a plus 600 bet.
All right.
I think Kentucky's just, yes, they have
for
4
perspective,
losses.
for people that know, Auburn, of course, is the favorite right now. And they are what? What are their odds at the moment?
Actually, Auburn is not the favorite right now. Gonzaga is the favorite right now at plus 600.
So,
Auburn is plus 800.
Okay.
Then you have Baylor at plus 1,000, Purdue at plus 1,200, Duke at plus 1,200, and Kentucky at plus 1,400.
Okay. All right.
And this is one of the reasons I'm recommending Kentucky. Like, I think Kentucky has a better chance to win the national championship than both Purdue and Duke, and should be there in that Auburn-Baylor range.
Yep.
I think that there's, again, a lot of value, and it's something that I think you should hop on now if you're thinking about, because I don't think that value is going to be there very often. Yeah, they have 4 losses. 2 of those losses happened with Ty Washington getting injured or otherwise not being on the court for close to half the game, playing under 30 minutes. I think that when he does play, they can, as we, again, saw over the weekend, walking into Fog Allen and just destroying Kansas. They can beat anybody in the country. Obviously, they're not going to be going on the road on the neutral court. You look deeper into the metrics. Ken Pom has them as the second-best team in the country behind Gonzaga. And Gonzaga's, while good and still going to be the favorite, is not quite as good as they have been the past, last year, the past couple of years. So I think that this Kentucky bet at plus 1,400 is a really good bet to make right now.
All right, Aaron Oster from VSIN, the Vegas Sports and Information Network, is with us here on Simply the Bets, which is brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel and the Fanduel Sportsbook. At Live Casino and Hotel, they salute their heroes. Every Wednesday, receive a special gaming offer. Present your valid military, DOD, police officer, firefighter, or hospital ID and earn up to $30 free slot play or direct bet. Aaron, let's move on. Your long shot, your underdog that you like right now.
I'm going to go to the Super Bowl MVP market for the long shots here. There are a trio of long shots that I like. And when we talk about the Super Bowl MVP market, we acknowledge that, look, this is probably going to be a quarterback. We know this, but there are chances for it to not be. And by the way, if you do like it, I just want to mention it here for new gamblers. One common way to bet the Super Bowl MVP market is you don't bet the game. You simply bet whatever quarterback for the team you like. If you want to bet the Rams, instead of laying the juice, going minus money,
right,
you get Matt Stafford plus, I believe it's plus 110 right now.
With the assumption being, hey, look, this is the Super Bowl we're talking about. If they win, it's almost certainly going to be the quarterback who's MVP.
Exactly. And so you bet that, and so actually it's plus 115 for Matthew Stafford. So yeah, you're getting what, even though the Rams are the favorites, you're getting plus money on the Rams winning if you believe Matthew Stafford, which is a pretty good, fair assumption to make. But if you're looking for a long shot here, there's a trio, and it comes down to simply the fact that when you're looking at MVP, if it's not the quarterback, how can another player win? To me, it would have to be a repeat of that Bengals-Titans game, except for the Rams actually winning. It has to be the Rams defense gets to Burrow over and over and over again. If they get 9-10 sacks, they might be looking for a defensive player to give Super Bowl MVP for, which is why Aaron Donald at plus 1,700, Von Miller at plus 5,000 or 50 to 1, and then Leonard Floyd at plus 20,000 or 200 to 1.
I hear you.
That's one, again, if you want to sprinkle on that one, those first two are my main one, but if you really want to get into a deep long shot that could come through, Leonard Floyd at that number specifically is at least a little bit interesting to me. Again, if they get 9-10 sacks like we saw in that Titans game, obviously things would have to go a little bit wrong for the offense because, as I was saying before, naturally they're going to give it to the quarterback.
Right.
But if you get 9-10 sacks, there's going to be a big push, particularly if Donald or Miller or Floyd get 3 sacks.
The problem I have with the MVP thing is that I still feel like in order for it to be somebody who's not like a name brand, that has to be so overwhelming what that person did in that game. So to your point, like if somehow Leonard Floyd specifically has 5 sacks in the game, right? Like, okay, maybe. But I think that Von Miller could have like a 2-sack, 3-sack type of game.
Exactly.
And just on a day where there's not a great answer for who specifically should be the MVP, they default to, well, he's the best player on the defense, and the defense was the story, so let's just give it to Von Miller, right? Like, or obviously Aaron Donald in the same way.
100%. Right? For Floyd, it would literally be, look, I want to throw $5 on something and get the biggest bang for my bucks. Return there. I can put in $5, get $1,000 back if something crazy does happen, and Leonard Floyd has a sack, fumble, touchdown type situation. But yes, as far as if I'm looking for a long shot on this board, I'm looking at the defensive players and then those really Donald and Miller. But then if you want Floyd as well.
All right. Sorry, Paul. I don't know what you're asking me. Paul, what are you trying to get me to do here? Well, yeah, easy over there.
Sorry there. Just looking for you to repeat the odds one more time for me.
Right now, Aaron Donald is plus 1,700. Von Miller is plus 5,000. And Leonard Floyd is plus 20,000.
All right, give me a bet that's a loser that you look at and just say, this is a loser.
All right, I'm taking this in 2 different directions right now. For this bet for 2 different reasons. I'm sticking to the same market, the Super Bowl MVP market. And this is a bet that's getting a lot of buzz lately. And there's a chance it could come through. But it's a loser for a reason because the odds, I think, are really bad on this, and you should not make this bet. And that's Cooper Kupp to win Super Bowl MVP. Right now, it's plus 550. Yes, obviously, there's a lot of narrative.
How can that be a loser of a bet, man? Like those. All right, you're gonna have to explain this.
I'm going to explain this to you. So obviously, we talked about before. Most of the time when the offense does well, they're going to default to the quarterback. We've seen this time and time again. And yes, there have been times when wide receivers have won Super Bowl MVP. But that comes in a very, very specific scenario, which is A, they do well. They always get over 120 yards, generally get a touchdown, though not always. We saw it with Julian Edelman a few years ago. But they have to get 50%, over 50% of the team's receiving yards, and they have to have the quarterback have a fairly mediocre game. For example, that Julian Edelman game. He had 141 yards receiving.
Right.
His quarterback had 262 yards and an interception, no touchdowns in the game. When Santonio Holmes won it, he had 131 yards and a touchdown. Ben Roethlisberger had 256 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. It basically has to be the whole offense has to be Cooper Kupp. And that's where I have a little bit of trouble with it because this isn't just a one-team offense. Obviously, they have Odell Beckham. They have Cam Akers has been getting into the passing game. It's not going to – if Cooper Kupp has let's say, 130-yard and a touchdown game, is Matt Stafford really only going to have 250 yards? Like, I have a little bit of trouble with that.
I hear you. Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. then there's also here, and then this is why it becomes more of a loser to me. So as I was just saying, this has to be a pretty specific ban to happen. So let's say Cooper Kupp has 115 yards. He has a touchdown. The Rams win, and you know what? Matthew Stafford only throws 260 yards. Let's say that happens. Well, you can actually put those things into a thing in parlay. You can have Cooper Kupp 110 yards. You can have Cooper Kupp scoring a touchdown. You can have Matthew Stafford under 281 yards, and you can have a Rams win in the game.
You're going to get better odds. Yeah.
Do you know what that parlay gets you? Plus 1064.
Yeah.
Instead of that plus 550.
Okay.
So I think that I understand it's an easy bet to make, but if you really think Cooper Kupp can win MVP, if you think these things are going to happen, put them together in a parlay instead and get a lot more money for it.
All right. That's very interesting, your theory there. That's a very interesting theory. So what was the other way you wanted to go with it?
Well, it was a loser because A, I don't think it's going to happen,
Right.
and B, you can get way better odds.
Right.
If you want to.
Okay. All right. Got it. All right, and finally, give me a bet you love. Something that you'd say literally walk from Cecil County if you must to the Fanduel Sportsbook at Live Casino Hotel in order to put this bet in.
Well, tonight, one of the marquee matchups on the board in college basketball, you have Wisconsin traveling to Illinois in a really good Big Ten showdown. Right now, the line is Illinois -7 over Wisconsin. And Wisconsin's one of those teams where the metrics just don't love them. The luck factor is high on them. They've had a couple close wins against bad teams that has made them look worse. And we see this every year where one or two teams are kind of like this. Providence is one of those teams this year. We saw it a few years ago with Maryland where they never quite got the respect from the numbers. And the numbers, and you're going to hear me refer to metrics a lot because especially in college basketball, you're going to see the betting lines and the metrics such as Ken Palm, such as Mark Torvik or Haslametrics really correlate strongly with the lines. And that's kind of the case this time, but I do think that it's gone a little bit too high in this case. I think Wisconsin's just a good team and who the metrics don't love for a number of reasons, but they have the best player on the court in Johnny Davis. I think even going on the road to Illinois, this should be closer to a 4 or 5 point game, not a 7 point game. I really love taking the 7 with the Badgers.
All right, very good. So we'll post those up on Twitter at Glenn Clark Radio for you to, if you missed all of it. But those are the 5 bets. Those are the 5 L's from Aaron Oster. Aaron, tell everybody about VSIN and what you guys are doing.
Of course, VSIN, we are the Vegas Sports Information Network. We are a 24/7 broadcast company. You can find our fine work in Maryland, actually. If you check out Masson, you will see shows like Follow the Money and the Lombardi Line. You can check us out on the iHeartMedia app, or if you have Xfinity, you can find us on the Xfinity app. Right now, with the Super Bowl coming up, we're running a big game betting guide special, and it's absolutely free for anybody who wants to go. Check it out. Check out vsin.com/Super Bowl to get your free guide there and find all of the props. All the props as they come out will be there. You'll find the best bets. You'll see trends. You'll see everything you want to bet the Super Bowl and go down Maryland Live and place those bets that you see.
All right, very good. Aaron Oster, at the A Oster on Twitter is how you follow him. Of course, he'll be with us for Jobbing Out this week. We got special guest Taya Valkyrie as well, so looking forward to that. All right, pal, appreciate you. We'll talk to you next Wednesday.
Talk to you next week, man.
That's Aaron Oster from VSIN checking in with us here on Simply the Bets, brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel. He makes a strong argument about Cooper Kupp. He really does. Like, that's I don't like giving Aaron credit for anything. Those of you that listen to Jobbing Out know that that's true. It's like Drew. I don't like giving these people credit for anything whatsoever. But that's well thought out, right? Like the scenario by which you would have to have it play out in order for Cooper Kupp to be MVP. Well, if you think that's going to play out, just go parlay all these other scenarios, and you'll get way better odds than him winning MVP. So I get what he's saying, that specifically for another offensive player, for a wide receiver to win MVP, that this situation has to be so unique that it makes it very difficult. And we all look at Cooper Kupp and say, well, he's pretty freaking unique, right? We're talking about as being NFL MVP. And I do think that matters because, unfortunately, when it comes to some of these awards, it is as much about reputation and name brand sometimes as it is about actually what happened during the course of the game. if some particular who was the Buccaneers defensive back that was MVP of the Super Bowl they won with Brad Johnson as quarterback? I can't even think of the guy's name. Was it Dexter?
It wasn't Rondé Barber?
No. It was list of Super Bowl MVPs. I want to say it was Dexter Jackson. Is that his name? No, God, this is gonna drive me nuts. But it required him legitimately having a game-changing pick six during the course of the game in order to be able to win MVP. It was in 2000. Dexter Jackson. Ha! Look at your boy. Dexter Jackson was the one. Of course, Malcolm Smith won Super Bowl MVP for the Seahawks the year that they destroyed the Patriots because their defense was just so overwhelming during the course of that game that was the story, right? It has to be an extraordinary set of circumstances. In the past, it was easier for a running back to win because teams typically, would be more inclined to try to have running backs dominate on the ground. I don't remember the last time a running back won Super Bowl MVP. It was, I'm looking over the list now. My God, Terrell Davis.
Was that 98?
That was, 98. 98 was the last time that a running back won Super Bowl MVP. So there have been more wide receivers than there have been running backs, to Aaron's point. Santonio Holmes, Hines Ward, Deion Branch, and Julian Edelman have all won Super Bowl MVP since 2000. But overwhelmingly, it's the quarterbacks. It's just the way that it has worked that the quarterbacks have won Super Bowl MVP. All right, as we wind down for the inaugural edition of Simply the Bets, a reminder that 55 Live is Live Casino and Hotels exclusive promotion for 55-plus-year-old Live Rewards members, and they offer specials every Tuesday and Thursday. On Tuesdays, earn $30 in free slot play or direct bet, and on Thursdays, earn double points if you're part of 55 Live, the exclusive promotion for 55-plus-year-old Live Rewards members. So every week when we do this, we're going to wrap it up. If you listen to Glenn Clark Radio or watch Glenn Clark Radio, at the end of every show, Paul offers us a tidbit of the day. So we're just going to mix that up a little bit, and we're going to have him offer us a tidbet of the day, a tidbet. So something related to betting that's just a little bit interesting every week. Paul will provide us that. Paul, what do you have for this week's tidbet of the week?
So there was a gentleman in Louisiana this first weekend of betting who made a $50 bet on a plus 189,343. So plus 189,343 parlay, a 13-leg parlay, and he hit all 13 legs.
All right, give me the 13 legs.
All right. So he hit. It was all basketball.
Uh-huh.
Bulls over Blazers money line minus 210. Bulls won 130 to 116.
Okay.
Bulls Blazers over 228 minus 110. Total 246 points. Timberwolves over Jazz money line minus 140. T-Wolves won 126 to 106. Spurs plus 13.5 over Suns minus 110. Spurs covered in 115 to 110 loss. Spurs Suns under 227.5 points minus 110, a total of 225 points. Pistons plus 7.5 over the Cavaliers at minus 110. Pistons won 115 to 105. Pistons Cavaliers over 207.5 minus 110, total 220 points. Magic plus 5 over Mavericks minus 110. Magic won 110 to 108. Magic Mavericks over 211.5. Again, total 218 points. Nuggets plus 6.5 over Bucks minus 110. Nuggets won 136 to 100. Nuggets Bucks over 233 minus 110. Total 236 points. Man, it keeps going. Boston College over Pitt money line minus 170.
All right. I mean, you can. Is how many more are there?
That's the second to last one.
All right. One more. And what's the last one?
Boston College won 69.56. Washington State over Colorado money line minus 250. Washington State won 70 to 43.
And so he bet $50.
He bet $50 and he turned it into $94,721.55.
That is quite remarkable. That is quite remarkable. I've said this before. We talked about this. I had a week this week where I just happened to go. The actual bets that I made for that week in football, I went 9 for 9. It's just the actual, like, not our picks contest, like the actual bets that I put in for football games that week. I happened to go 9 for 9. And I'd never done that before, right? And like an idiot, I didn't also put in a, why not just put in a $10 parlay bet every week, right? Like, if you believe these are how the games go, why not just throw in a 10? And I didn't do that. And I was like, do I want to know how much I would have won? Like, do I want to go back and try to recalibrate this and figure out how much I would have won? Or do I just want to leave it alone and be happy with the fact that I won 9 bets this weekend? Like, do I just want to do that? And that's what I chose to do. For my mental health, I didn't want to know how much it would have paid me if I just would have tossed in a $10 or a $20 parlay bet on all 9 things that I got. Right, and it wouldn't have been nearly as much as this. You know what I mean? Like, this is insane. I would say I encourage it. Of course, you'll get statistics that say parlay bets are where betting, palaces make their most money. And it's for obvious reasons, right? Like, it's hard to have everything go right. It's hard. Clearly, this is a guy that's probably betting all those things individually and doing exactly what I'm saying. Like, if I'm going to bet them all individually, why not bet them all in the same way? And if I hit one, like, it's worth, if I lose 100, it's worth it because I hit one, right? Like, it's the difference in $95,000. But it's sort of like buying lottery tickets at that point, right? Like, you keep buying lottery tickets and hoping that one of it ends up hitting. Yes, the other big story, John and Bruce alluded to it earlier in the show, was this insane guy who was playing on Fanduel who just decided to bet exact scores on both championship games and got them both, parlayed it, and a $20 bet, which, by the way, was free play money that he was using. For whatever reason, the promotion, something he'd earned, he used free play money, a $20 bet exactly Bengals 27, Chiefs 24, and Rams 20, 49ers 17, at plus 2,895,000 odds, and turned it into $579,000. Which is just unreal. May the odds be in your favor this week. Maybe not to that tune, but hopefully you'll be able to make some money. Thanks to Bruce Bilek. Thanks to Aaron Oster. This has been the inaugural edition of Simply the Bets. It's been brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel and the FanDuel Sportsbook. We will be back here next Wednesday for your very next edition.